Hi, Mark here from the Tangent-Bound Podcast Network and host of the flagship show, the Tangent-Bound Podcast. Did you know that we over at Tangent-Bound are always looking for amazing podcasts to promote? And did you also know that we are also proud nerds and geeks of everything from movies, music, gaming, TV shows, and comic books to wrestling, MMA, soccer, and football? Whatever you can nerd or geek out about, we've got it. And if you're interested, we can help you find it. And if you're a show looking for a place to call home, we've got you covered. Side effects may include upset stomach, dizziness, tumors, shakes, and in some rare cases, death from excessive laughter. Though to be fair, it's only sometimes. Other side effects may include diarrhea, gallstones, heart palpitations, and strong desire for cookies on the dark side. Talk to your doctor and visit TangentBoundNetwork.com and see if Tangent-Bound Network is right for you.
Sucks to the last drop. Are you gonna blow your head off? Take good aim and don't forget to duck. A light sucks every Monday and all the way to Sunday, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't care how you're doing, what's up or how's it hanging. I'd like to buy this world one last drink. Life sucks all of the time. Stick it up your sunshine, and then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day.
Welcome to the Crazy Life, everyone. My name's Jen, and I am your hostess for the evening. And sorry I wasn't with you last week, but I know Brian and Henno did a bang-up, stellar, awesome job like they always do. Mm-hmm. And they're with me again today. Hey, guys.
Howdy.
Yo.
And we have a special guest with us today, Roxanna. Hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm great. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Absolutely. We love having you on. And folks, if you want to be like her too, you know, just contact us and we can arrange to have you on the show too. Just saying.
Maybe.
Got something to say? We can all come on. Anywho, that being said, let's get into the show. Do I have to go first, I guess?
Yes.
I missed it last time. Huh.
Yeah, we have a rule that if you miss a week, you have to be the one that goes first. So, yeah, Jen, you have to go first.
Yeah. I'm surprised there's even a question about this.
Well, she's just trying to get out of it, Henno.
I'm just trying to,
I know,
is there room to push this to somebody else?
I was waiting for her to be like, well, it's rude. Let's let the guest go first. I was waiting for that.
Exactly. Oh,
because I know her upbringing.
I was kind of going there, but I will go first. Sorry, folks, the dogs were quiet for a minute there.
Yeah.
But anywho, so my last 2 weeks, am I getting loud? No, they're getting loud.
Yeah.
Shit.
Okay, it's like icing on a cake. Especially that noise.
Wow, that sounds like a weird week, Jen. Yeah.
Yes. So,
folks, that's not Jen's dogs. That's just her. It's really weird.
For those of you who can't see this, that's actually Jen.
Yeah.
All right,
she's just trying to fake it.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm just faking my dog noises. What can I say? I'm getting better at them as the weeks progress.
Oh my.
I am so sorry, folks. This is starting out very rocky, but we will pick up where we left off. So my week. So, unfortunately, I was not able to be on last week, but it was a good reason. My in-laws were in town, which is absolutely awesome. But I do go through a lot of anxiety with my house because for some reason, and it's not anyone else, it's what I do to myself, is I put a lot of pressure on myself to present a tidy, clean life and house, and, you know, I hold myself up to these standards that no one else holds me up to. So when I have my in-laws come into town, they do stay with us. So I have to make sure the house is extra parent approved, if that makes sense. So I call it parentizing the house, but it's not really for them. It's more for me, if that makes any sense. So I wasn't able to be on the podcast last week because I wasn't expecting them coming in and staying with us. So I had to take some extra time to tidy up and make sure the house was as I like it to be for guests and stuff. But it was awesome having him in town and having him around. I'm very fortunate that I get along with my in-laws. So I'm very, very fortunate after I've heard some other people's stories. But so that was kind of that's unfortunately why I couldn't be on the show, because that kind of came up last minute. But everything else seems to be going pretty good. Things at work are going well. It's interesting because I'm now at that point where I've gotten to know everybody pretty well, and so we're starting to fall into different communication patterns, if that makes sense, where I can kind of foresee what they're going to do and they can kind of foresee what I'm going to do, so we kind of anticipate and communicate at a different wavelength than when you first meet someone, which is cool. But that's also at that point where you start letting your guard down and you start to see people for who they really are. So that's where I'm kind of at right now, and I actually had to have a conversation that was very difficult for me, because I'm not a confronter at all, as those that listen to the show know. I am a people pleaser, and I like to make everyone happy and smile and be positive as much as I can be. And when someone upsets me or makes me mad, I'd much rather kind of push it under the rug and avoid any sort of circumstances or situations that are uncomfortable. It's much more preferable for me to take the hit and run away than to actually confront and stand my ground. So, but this week, one of the supervisors, not my supervisor, but one of the supervisors dictated to me what I was going to be doing. And I took a lot of offense to that, honestly, because quite frankly, I don't think anyone should be dictating to me what I'm going to be doing unless you are my direct manager. And even then, preferably the first time around you don't dictate, the first time around you ask or you request. Dictating kind of always will rub me the wrong way, which I don't think I'm alone with that. I think a lot of people feel the same way. That just doesn't sit well. And the way he said it, and he made a few other comments about the way I do things. And so I'm like, no, I can't do this anymore. I need to take this a step further. So I went to my manager's manager, who I have a good relationship with, and I sat down and talked with him about it. And I said, I need to know that what I'm doing is what you want me to do and how you want me to do it. And he said, it is. He said, I think you're doing a great job. No problems with how you're doing things. I said, okay, great. This gentleman seems to feel otherwise, that he has, the right to say things, even if they are a little cryptic. They're very pointed in his meaning. And he doesn't seem to agree that what I'm doing is what I should be doing. And so that's going to be taken care of. So that was kind of my win for the week, was standing up for myself and just saying, I need to address this as much as I don't want to, as much as I can't. And, maybe I should have gone directly to the person and addressed it directly with him originally, but I guess I'm just not strong enough for that yet. But did address it in my own way. So
I think what is, compared to you, what's this other person's position?
He's an operations supervisor, and I'm a materials planner. So he deals with the people, I deal with the material.
Okay, so you're
whole different departments, but we work
so you're
by side.
different departments. Okay, yeah. And so he was basically giving you an employee review and evaluation?
He was basically dictating to me, you need to do this because I'm not going to be here all night because you need to do this.
But he was also going into how you do your job?
Yeah, he's like, you need to stand up, you need to go and do this, you need to go and do that, you need to, versus what I've been told to do, which is stay at my desk, field questions, monitor the computer.
Yeah.
So, I'm doing as I've been told to do, but he wants me to be up and moving around and doing other things.
Yeah.
But reality, his people are the ones that are supposed to be doing that, not me. And that's why I have an actual person.
Wow.
I actually have a person called a runner, and the runner, their job is to run and get things because, they go and get materials that I need to, so that I can be at my desk and I can be there for use of every employee, versus if I'm out in the field and I'm out in the warehouse doing things, I can't be of use to everyone. I'm of use to one person.
Yeah.
So, but
that always fascinates me when I hear about that kind of stuff.
Yeah. It kind of, and it surprised me because I have a good relationship with this person to begin with, so it's not like I think on a personal level we're fine, and I don't know what prompted him to feel that he could have that liberty with me, to be able to say those things. So I don't know whether he's been told some misinformation that maybe he is above me in some way, shape, or form. But I verified that, and he's not.
I love how you handled it too, because that really is the right way to do it. Is to go and say, okay, is there, because you gave yourself all of the information that you need now to directly confront.
Yeah.
Whereas before, if you did directly confront and then you did end up talking to your supervisors and they're like, well, he kind of does have a point, then you're like, oh, whoa, I didn't know this. But because you went and you found out exactly what you need to be doing, and if there's anything that's wrong or anything that you're not doing correctly, at this point, if he ever says that you could do something, you say, no, I'm going to do what my department instructs me to do, and you can go somewhere else.
Yeah, right.
Right.
I love how you handled it, because you gave yourself the power.
Thank you.
Like, you can't get gotcha'd.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, power in truth, I really feel that fact and truth have more power than just about anything else. And as long as I can drill down and I can find the truth in the matter and I can find the facts and focus on that, it helps me keep my emotions out of it.
Yeah, it's the information. Right. You gathered all the information, and now you can act, appropriately without any fear. That's really smart.
Yeah, and the guy that is my manager, he's brand new, and he didn't even know he was my manager. Because, well, technically he's my supervisor, because manager, supervisor, we have a bunch of titles there.
Gotcha.
But I'm an analyst, my manager's a supervisor, and my supervisor's manager is a manager, which seems backwards, but whatever. I mentioned to him because I was turning my time card in, and he's like, why are you turning your time card into me? I'm like, because you're my boss.
That's funny.
Yep. And I'm like, yes, you are. I said, yeah. So he's like, well, it's kind of gray around here. I said, yeah, I think a lot of people feel that way, that it's a little bit gray at who reports to who, obviously. So we need to make some of those things a little more clear. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so that was my win for the week. And
that's a great one.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with the outcome, and I feel that the conversation with my supervisor's manager, when I sat down and talked with him, and he gave me some background and said that he feels that my position, there's 3 of us in my position, and he feels that my position is one of the strongest filled positions right now that he has under him, right? And so that made me feel really good. That he's like, no, you're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing, exactly how you're supposed to be doing it. He's like, I have no concerns with what you're doing. So he's like, just keep on doing what you got to do. I said, all right, I can do that.
Yeah.
I have no problems keeping on. So, but yeah, other than that, that's been my week. So, all right, who wants to go next, or would we like our guest to go next?
Sure.
This is how everyone gets real quiet.
Okay, so this week I was just, whenever I travel, I get kind of anxious, and so I want to leave my apartment as clean as possible so that when I come back, I'm not feeling anxious and overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. So I did a lot of cleaning this week and then did some traveling and, I did a little bit of work and I get to come home to a nice clean apartment that's
smart.
Just, I don't have anything to do when I get home, which is awesome. I did all my laundry, all my dishes.
So smart.
Yeah.
Everything.
So smart, yeah.
Well, I have anxiety, so I try to do things that will help me not be anxious.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any tips or tricks that you do when you travel to kind of help keep your anxiety in check?
Well, I have medication that I take for my anxiety, but
always helpful.
Yeah,
sure.
Just really, just breathing and kind of trying to ground yourself in any way that is like most calming to you. I would say, that's really the best thing you can do, and just a lot of talk, like self-talk, like making sure you know that you're going to be safe, right? Mm-hmm. So you're going to be safe. You're going to be okay. In your brain, it might be a little radical, but, the main thing is that you're going to be all right. So I have to remind myself of that a lot before I travel, just because I get anxious on planes. I get anxious. I don't get anxious in cars, but planes are a big one for me. I feel out of control. I feel weird. Yeah.
And that's a pretty common thing to have anxiety over, from what I understand, because I do as well. And a lot of things what we talk about on the podcast is take it day by day. If you can't do day by day, you do hour by hour. Can't do hour by hour, do minute by minute, do second by second. Whatever you need to do to kind of keep breathing yourself through and keep working yourself through the moments, and you will get through them as long as you keep pushing and keep fighting your way through it. You'll get to the end at some point of the wonderful anxiety, which I know is so much fun. But, well, I'm glad that you made it safe, and I'm glad that you're here with us.
Yay, thank you.
Yeah,
I am too.
So, I don't know, what do you guys think? Who's next?
All right, fine. I'll go.
What I didn't see was a stare-off between Brian and Hanno.
I've been doing I did a bunch of cleaning this past week, too. And I had a dental appointment, a psychiatrist appointment, and a psychologist appointment all last week. And by the end of the week, I was really happy because I had gotten. Those are appointments that I didn't put off a long time, that I just took and or set up or whatever. And it was really awesome to go in to therapy for the second time in a row and tell her, everything's going good. And she was super happy for me, It was like, and then, after talking, she was even like, do you want to extend time between visits now, or, and I was like, no, I don't think so. I was like, let's keep them the way they are, so that, so I have that check-in in case things go off the tracks or whatever, so I'm not waiting like 3 months to go in or something. So, and the psychiatrist was basically, pretty much sat down, was like, things are great. He's like, cool. here's some refills, see ya. Wow. I mean, once they called me back, it was less than 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it was pretty quick.
Gotta love that. Good.
Yeah. And usually, I mean, he's a thorough guy, but he was just kind of like, there's nothing really for me to do here, because, you know, you're telling me things are going well, so, you know, I don't need to adjust the medicine. He's not a therapist, so that's, you know, he's just basically making sure the meds work. So if they are, then see ya.
How'd it feel having that many appointments in 1 week? Because that's a lot for you.
Yeah, it is, but it really wasn't a big deal, because like I hadn't been to therapy in a while, because she had to cancel when I had the appointment scheduled. So it's pushed it 2 or 3 more weeks out. So it was almost 2 months ago that I had therapy last. So that I was really looking forward to. And the psychiatrist I knew was going to be a real quick, you know, in and out basically. So I was, you know, honestly, the only one I dreaded was the dentist. And that was just a cleaning. So it was, once I was in there, I'm like, yeah, whatever, you know. And that didn't take very long and I was done. So yeah, my stuff really wasn't a big deal.
You do realize that it was a big deal, right?
Oh, I know. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, though, is it's just like it's not
a big deal, but I just want to make sure you do realize that is a pretty big deal, because before I would hear you say these things, and they, you know, like the dentist, you had a hard time leaving one time to go to the dentist. So, I mean, don't discredit your work. Mm-hmm. You know,
I'm
not. Make sure you own that, because you got yourself here, which is huge.
And I definitely did that when I was in therapy, when I was talking with her. You know, I was telling her how I've caught myself at times, like, starting to go down a negative thought process and stopped, you know, and rerouted myself and different stuff. You know, like I told her, I was like, I feel like things are clicking. Like, all the things that I've been told and read about and whatever, it feels like a lot of it's kind of just starting to line up the way it's supposed to now. So it's been pretty cool.
That's wonderful. That's awesome to hear, and I love hearing that it's no big deal anymore for you.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because you're right. There was a good chance that before I probably would have canceled one of the appointments. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah.
And it probably would have been the dentist. Because I needed a refill, so I couldn't cancel the psychiatrist. I hadn't been to therapy in a couple months, so, you know, that one. So I would have put off the dentist. Plus, that one's also the easiest one to reschedule. You know, I can get back into the dentist in a couple weeks. The others are usually a month or 2 months out. So, yeah.
Well, that's rocking it. That's awesome.
All right, and also, did you clean too? Everybody else did a bunch of cleaning.
Cleaning sprees here.
Yeah. Are you part of the group, or are you a slob?
No, I'm not. I'm still a rebel.
One of us. One of us.
Yeah. No, I made more of a mess actually this week. But I did work on things. I had like our lists. You know, Brian and I are notorious for making lists, and I had something on my list going so far back. I mean, we're talking years, and something to do with my studio that I wanted to take care of, and I went and took care of it this last, got home one night and was, so I'm going to tie this into to my addictions, one being a certain video game, which I just put down after a little while and went and did something else that I was supposed to do. So I feel pretty good right now about that. I'm at this moment, semi-normie. At any moment it can go completely haywire.
Right.
But I'm enjoying the fact that I actually have some balance there. But I went downstairs and I grabbed these things I needed to work on, and yeah, it was 11 at night, but who cares? When motivation happens,
Right?
That's right.
Yep. Mm-hmm. But in the process was, once I did what I needed to do, there was now no longer a box of stuff on top of a certain ottoman that's in my basement. And it was like, oh, okay, there's less clutter right there. Mm-hmm. Like, I'd actually even forgotten that there was an ottoman underneath all of this stuff. And so, some boxes went out in the garbage and this and that. And one of the things that I picked up one of our owners at my work had somebody build this massive outdoor like bench out of giant lumber. I mean, it is huge. It weighs a ton, and it was in pieces. And I brought it there, and I thought it would make a really nice little addition in the backyard. And so Sharon decided, that okay, now is the time to get the backyard this thing in. And it's really nice. They had custom cushions made for it and everything like that. It would be perfect. And she had gone downstairs and had seen the ottoman. And she was about to go shopping, and she's like, oh, the ottoman will be perfect for the big couch on the back patio. And so it was just kind of fun to that we, together did something. And part of it had to do with the fact that I finally took something off my list. And, usually when I take care of business, it cascades in a positive direction.
Yep.
And which is what I was about to say is it's amazing, Roxanna, about how you're talking about you're thinking ahead and taking action with your daily life so that you're more likely to have a positive cascade than a negative cascade. And I hear the same thing from Brian, which is I think one of the things we talk about on the show more than anything is being proactive.
Yeah. Well, it's also awesome, thinking in the future, but not in a negative way. You're not worried about the future or, future casting and stuff. You're thinking about the future, but you're by doing this, it sets me up to be successful. That's
exactly
what you want. Yep. Yeah, exactly.
That's it. Yeah. And, my, friend Kit, who's going to come out and visit me on Wednesday, I know she has a difficult time with that too. She tends to not be, she's working on it, but she's not at that point yet of being proactive. So, I'm going to call her on the phone tonight. We're going to talk a little bit, because she has a lot of anxiety as well. And she's going to be, I set up the tickets and everything, but she has to travel, make it to the airport and blah, blah, blah. And you're talking about traveling, there's so much out of your control. I mean, you do have control, but there's so many things that, literally security is a roadblock. A ticketing agent is a roadblock. It is somewhere where you have to stop and now adjust to whatever happens. And it's the part where you have to go, okay, am I giving myself enough time to, to have that thing? And so, we're going to talk tonight a little bit about that, because I know she's still working on that, and it's just good advice. It's hey, what was great is she took a bunch of extra days off, which is, I thought was really smart. Took it rather than, which is something that I had to learn myself too. It's okay, don't plan on going to work immediately the next day. Don't fill up your day to the day before. Otherwise, it's chicken with its head cut off, and everything cascades wrong.
Yep.
Anywho, other than that's my little win for the week was actually knocking something off the list. But I had on Saturday, we got a chance I got together with my band to play, to literally set up the entire, this is me trying to be proactive again. I wanted to set up our entire PA system before a gig to work out any bugs, to find anything, any cord that I'm missing or anything like that. And so I did that on Saturday.
Cord that doesn't work. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, all that stuff. Yeah. And blow everyone's head off with the voice of Satan feedback coming through, which actually happened.
Oh my!
By the time I hit the mute button, everyone felt like their nethers had been completely scrambled by Satan himself.
Nice.
It was this just unholy sound.
Sounds like a good sound check to me.
It was better than at a gig. Do not touch that button. But what was wild was we got done, and at some point, when I'm playing music, I don't notice it, but by the time we got done, I was like, wow, I'm getting a headache. And by the time I got home and had to unload the gear, I'm like, this is getting into migraine territory. And then it was by the time I unloaded everything, and it was time to go, I need to eat, but I have no appetite. And it's okay, now we're really getting into migraine territory.
Yeah.
And it was just, try to take care of myself the best I could, relax. But what's been weird, it's been every day since Saturday now.
Really?
And it starts in the afternoon, and it starts at a certain time, and it's just unusual, because I'm not like that.
Yeah.
I might get one every once in a while, but not where it's it's about 2:30, 3 o'clock. Guess what's about to happen? And it was odd.
Boom.
Like maybe your blood sugar's going low and causing a headache?
Me and like that I don't have enough sugar?
Yeah, like maybe the right type of sugar in your system, like a banana or an orange juice or something like that to kind of...
He just eats... Yourself. He takes a bag of sugar with him to work, so...
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
I think so. Well, and that's why I was kind of bringing it up is like, okay, all right, it was like, all right, aspirin, not cutting it. Let's throw some ibuprofen on top of that, and then, try to drink a lot of water and everything like that. Sharon had heard something about magnesium helping, and I have magnesium tablets that are for my ear ringing, so I took some of those. But anyone have any other tips? I'll try. I mean, I usually have fruit at work, so...
Yeah, because that's usually, if I start getting a headache coming on, especially that time of day, because that's kind of like the low part of my day, I usually have to have either some caffeine, some good sugars, or something along those lines, preferably both. So, like, drink a cup of coffee and eat an orange at the same time type of a thing, to kind of equalize my system out, because my system starts going a little bit wonky around 2:30, 3 o'clock. For some odd reason. It just seems to happen that way.
Well, that's basically what I've been doing. All right.
Well,
I guess it's just one of those things.
The weird part about migraines is, well, it's not just migraines, but is that everybody that has them, like, you can take 10 people with migraines, and what works for them to help or ease them can be different for each person.
For everybody,
yeah, some people heat works really well. Some people cold works cold works better for me. Heat does not help me at all. But like a cold compress does a lot for me usually. Kind of a thing. Like once I have them. So I don't know. But everybody, all you got to do is just tell people you have migraines. You'll hear everything you should try.
Well, at least I'm on the right track because, well, I'm generally caffeinated all the time.
Yeah.
So I stepped that up a little bit. Like I said, I always have fruit. I was like doubling down on the water, and at least it's manageable. Like right now I know I have the headache, but it's not making me like, I don't feel like I need to lie down or anything like that. I just know that I'm just aware of this little thing right in this one spot in my brain.
Yep. Oh, I hear you. I've had that for 3 days. I've had a spot in my head that has just ached, and it keeps feeling like it's going to go into more, but it hasn't. And I don't know if that's good or bad, because it's tolerable, but it's really annoying.
Oh, I had one other thing that happened that was really cool. On Thursday night, I was at my men's meeting, and afterwards, there's a young guy that came in here. When I mean young, he's 19 or 20.
Oh wow!
And he walked in to a group of men and said, basically described to me. He described an alcoholic, right? And I got a chance to talk to him afterwards for about 20 or 30 minutes, and which was really awesome. But it was like, cause I just think it's so brave. So this is one thing I ran the meeting last Thursday, and I shared a story about a friend of mine who was really struggling with stopping drinking, and it had gotten to the point where he was just lying to everybody. And so I just told him, I said, nobody believes you. You have no integrity. I said, we don't actually, the lying is worse than the drinking. If you can't, we know you're addicted to alcohol. You can't stop, but just don't lie about it, right? And so he decided on his own to stop lying one day at a time. And sure enough, the not drinking followed about 2 weeks later, and he was going to meetings and everything. So I shared that at the meeting, and this young man decided to open up and say that, because he was there a week before, and that he'd gone 3 days and then he drank again. But that he's trying again, and he wanted to say it because he wanted to be honest. And it was just so brave for somebody that young. And so you always have all these like old timer guys, and because we were seriously, everyone in the room is 20 years older than this kid. At least it's 20 to 30.
Right.
And everyone's like, it's great that I wish I'd, come in that early, blah, 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 this kind of stuff like that. And I'm looking at the kid going, I don't understand why you're in here, because if I was you, I'd be drinking.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can't sit there and say, hey, you ready for a life of sobriety when you're only 20?
Yeah. Yeah, because most people are like doing their college drinking.
That's it.
That's usually how it's looked at. Yeah.
Yeah. Yet he's one of those guys his friends who are college drinkers are looking at him and saying, dude, you might have a problem. When your buddies who already drink a lot say, you're worse than us, and so that's why he walked in. But it was, just having that. It's been a while since I've had a chance to really I haven't had a chance to work with anybody that's newly sober it's been years, let alone have a conversation with somebody, and to sit down and have somebody talk to. It was really nice, and I just felt really blessed to have a chance to just, kind of share my experience with somebody, and that really made my week last week. And it kind of reminded me of like why I need to be a little more active, because it's not like I don't like to make opportunities, but if I'm not around, the opportunities don't happen. It's like I have to participate to have that chance. So it was a good reminder for me.
Cool.
Anyhow,
I like it.
That's about it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, this week, since we have our guest with us, Roxanna, I wanted to talk a little bit with you. We all wanted to kind of talk a little bit with you, kind of about some of the things that you've gone through in your life, and any positive steps and things that you've taken that we can kind of share with the audience to help you get over just some obstacles and things that you've had. Because I know, well, first of all, I guess we can start with what you do for a living, which I think is fascinating, because you're a professional cuddler, correct?
I am. Yeah.
That is fascinating to me. And and here's why, because I'm a very touchy person.
Yeah. So
I appreciate the human contact and how important that is to an individual and to other human beings. In today's age, we've gotten so far away from human contact that I think that completely makes sense to me why someone could do this for a living and make a living at it, because we need that right now. Mm-hmm. So what brought you to become a personal cuddler?
The thing that really pushed me, well, first of all, I'm just very physically affectionate, platonic affection. I'm very big on that. And I think it's really, really important. And even just hugs and hand holding and whatever else, it's so important. And when I heard that professional cuddling was a thing, I was like, I need to do that. And also because, I have anxiety, I have PTSD. It helps me too. It helps me connect with other people. It helps them for whatever reason they're doing it. It's really, really good on both ends. I like helping people. I've had a few of my clients tell me, different things, they're so glad that, I'm in their life and we're able to do this because, either they don't have that contact normally or regularly. And, it's just really welcome in their lives. And I really like that. I like connecting with the people. And, a lot of times, during sessions, my clients don't talk, and that's totally fine. I just kind of let them do whatever they feel they need to do. But, the contact is so important. Mm-hmm. And we're at a point where we're so disconnected from other people and human touch is not accepted. You're, hugging somebody closely, tightly, or, greeting people with a kiss on the cheek, which I normally do. I do those things. And, it seems like that's becoming less and less accepted, but a lot of people need physical contact. Mm. Everybody needs physical contact. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff I've been kind of noticing popping up on, different mental health websites and stuff where they're talking more and more about how loneliness might be the worst part of depression. Like, worse than any of the rest of the symptoms of it, because, we humans are social beings. Even if you're an introvert, you're still social to some extent or whatever. And it looks like there's probably a lot being looked at now about how important touch and all that kind of stuff is. And I've said that, before too. That it's weird what you miss when you're single is, like someone just in the bed with you. Just that kind of thing. Getting a hug from somebody occasionally. Just, anything along those lines, like you were just saying, and that's so, from when you first told me you did that, I totally understood it, And then I asked you like a million questions.
Yeah. Well, like a lot of people either think I'm joking when I say that, or they are like, why, or something, but like, it really does help me, and I know that it helps my clients, and that's the best feeling. I like to help people.
And just to be clear, it's platonic, correct?
Absolutely.
Completely
Platonic.
I want to make sure the audience gets it. Completely platonic.
Absolutely. Yes. All of my clients know the rules. They generally, I haven't had anybody try anything inappropriate. Mm-hmm. They know what we're doing, and they just want the physical contact. Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Do you ever get referrals from therapists?
No, I don't.
You don't? Okay, interesting.
But that would be cool.
Because Sharon was looking into sex surrogates.
Yeah.
And, because, therapists, obviously, that's the line you cross, and that therapists therefore recommend people that have been trained for, especially when people are seeing a therapist for sexual dysfunction and that kind of stuff like that. And so I was just curious if that same kind of thing happened with you.
I don't have referrals from therapists, but that would actually be awesome. Yeah.
That might be a really great next step for you, even making sure you get your name out to therapy, to therapists and stuff. 'Cause that would be really cool.
That would be
cool. I
cool.
never thought about that, but yeah. I actually first heard about professional cuddling on America's Got Talent.
Oh.
Because last season, there was America's Got Talent. There was a professional cuddler. Now, she didn't make it to the next round because they determined it wasn't necessarily an entertainment thing. But the judges got up there and she cuddled the judges, and they all openly...
She did it as a talent?
Yeah.
Yes, she did it as her talent.
That's cool.
And so she cuddled the judges, and I don't think Howie went up there, because Howie Mandel's one of the judges who is phobic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, germaphobe. So I don't know if he went up there, but I know Heidi and I can't think, but anyways, the other ones went up there and were cuddled, and they did feel better. They said afterwards they felt happier, more content, and more just lighter. They felt better, just even in the short time of being on stage with everyone watching them, just having her hold them. So I just, when I saw that, I was like, wow, that's a thing.
Yeah.
And then when I was talking with Brian and he mentioned that you did it for a living, I was like, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it.
I love it. I think it's awesome. And I really think that, like, I'm really like big on like positive energy. So I'm giving that person my positive energy. They're able to absorb, that sort of thing. So I really like that idea too.
Yeah, it's a great energy loop. When you're connected to someone, it does pass, the energy just keeps going through both people and stuff. And as we've mentioned on here before, and like you just even mentioned, Brian, like loneliness is the number one, just so hard to get over with depression, with most mental illness, with even alcoholism and drug addiction and stuff. All of these disorders and different diseases that people have, they all feed, this loneliness feeds on it. And it's just this horrible loop that we go through, and fighting that loneliness can be so tough. And, to be able to have someone to offer those services, it just seems like that would be a great way to combat that loneliness.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned that you also deal with PTSD. Now, does the cuddling kind of help you sometimes with that aspect of your life as well, like from a personal perspective?
Oh, absolutely. It helps me. A lot of times when I'm alone, I feel very unsafe. And, there's a lot of things that connect with my PTSD that go along with that. And, but being with somebody and close to somebody, I feel safer. And so it kind of helps me in that way. And who doesn't love a good hug? Right?
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's got to be tough, especially for men, because women, it's easier to walk up to somebody and say, I need a hug, and get a hug. Mm-hmm. But for men, it seems to be harder. I actually heard a story. A friend of a friend ran into the lead singer of Bare Naked Ladies, and which is a band. Those who probably know of them. But the lead singer of Bare Naked Ladies ran into him at a club, and he asked her to come home with him to his hotel room. This was before he was married and had a family and stuff, and just to sleep next to him. Yeah. And she didn't go because, it's obviously probably not the safest decision for a woman to make. Just meeting someone at the bar, regardless of who they are, and going back to their hotel room with them may not be the safest choice that you can make. But he said, I don't want to do anything other than just sleep next to somebody because I miss having that. So, and this was years ago when the Cleveland Flats were really big. So it's something that people have been expressing a need for a long time, and when you stop and you really think about it, how important it is. And, have you done any research or studies along the lines of what's the social media and stuff and how that may affect your line of work, and almost create clients, it seems like, for you? Because social media is taking people away from each other.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
So the question is, I know I kind of got lost in words there, but so with social media being on the rise like it is with the Facebook and the Twitter and stuff like that, and people are connecting that way, do you feel that is a good thing, or kind of it seems like it's a double-edged sword there, because it's good because they're connecting, but bad because they're not connecting by a touch.
I think that it feeds a different need. The social media stuff, you can connect with people socially and connect on maybe things that are not popular, but you like and this person likes, and you can talk about them and everything. But it's really not the same thing as being in contact with somebody. Mm-hmm. So I don't think that the social media hurts me at all with my business, because I think they're just two separate things. I think being social and connecting with people mentally is one thing, and feeling connected to people physically is another thing entirely.
Mm-hmm. It seems that both are very important to a full well-being.
Absolutely.
A full healthy well-being.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What?
I'm looking at my co-host going, guys.
Oh, I thought maybe there's some technical issue, you were couldn't hear us or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't want to step on you, Jen.
Yeah.
I love our professional show.
Yeah, that pregnant pause is having twins for sure. Look at that.
Yeah. We're still here, folks. Yeah. Yes, we are. What kind of work have you done for PTSD, for yourself?
Well, actually, I just started taking care of myself last October. Before that, I was being very destructive, both, to myself and to other things and other people. And I went through a long phase of trying to combat my PTSD instead of treating it. And yeah, and
interesting way of looking at it.
Yeah,
powerful. That's
I really did.
At it.
And I wasn't taking care of myself. And one day I finally, we were kind of talking about this a little bit. You hit like rock bottom, you hit a point where you can't take it anymore, and you either need to start taking care of yourself or don't. But if you don't, you're just gonna
you're pretty much you're pretty much accepting that. Yeah, exactly.
So
you're speaking my language right there.
Yep, me too.
Yeah, we all can relate on different levels for sure.
Yeah,
I think my doctor told me that when you need to get the most help is when it's negatively affecting the life that you want to have.
Yeah.
So, when you can recognize that this is not the life I want, and then take those steps. Okay, now we've acknowledged it. Let's move where we're going to go with this.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
I think
that just started last October when I actually started taking the steps to treat my PTSD and really take care of myself. Which I feel silly that it took me this long, but I'm also grateful that I finally decided to do it and make that change. So it's good.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah, you and I have that in common for sure, because I waited way too long to get, help for my depression. So yeah, it's...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just sort of hit a breaking point, but what I do, is, I am on medication for my PTSD and I've seen massive improvement. I also just try to do positive things in my day to make sure that I'm successful the next day, because I know and I recognize that I may not feel as good as I feel at this moment tomorrow. So I try to just remind myself that, it's not really going to go away, but I need to treat it. I need to be proactive. I need to be positive and just try to set myself up, like you said, for success every day. Every day is different. I have a lot of different issues because of my PTSD that I have to take care of and treat, but I really just try to set myself up and think one step ahead and really try to get everything together so that even if it is a mess tomorrow, maybe it won't be as big of a mess as it could be. So,
yeah, and that's like Heno said earlier. That's really smart. And that's kind of where I turned the corner a little bit with depression too. Was now I'm at the point that there's some days I wake up and I'm like, wow, depression wins the day. But the next day it's like, nope, I'm not going to let it win. I can't let it win day after day after day. It's like, I have to at least try to put up a fight today, and when you do, I notice that, there's more success because, depression just wants you to lie there and not try. So it's, So if you can do something to try to set yourself up ahead of time, that's really smart.
I find there's so many of these odd paradoxes in recovery, like, when I hear you talking about you're fighting your PTSD, it's like that. One of the things that I learned, in sobriety that gets, mentioned all the time is that I've agreed to stop fighting everyone and everything, because that's what I used to do. I used to fight everyone and everything. And yet at some point I had to kind of do battle with my isms to get into recovery. And there's these strange paradoxes where it's like, okay, I'm going to stop fighting everyone and everything. But like you said, Brian, but I need to take on my, whatever it is that I need to work on. And I find that it's so interesting to hear the similarities, from one mental health issue to another, and how solutions we tend to have shared solutions, which was when Brian and Jen started the show and I tuned into it. It was like, okay, they're talking about two completely different things than what I'm in recovery from, but I completely understand what they're going through.
Yeah, you can identify. Yeah.
Yeah. And I could absolutely identify, which is one of the things that for me in sobriety, when I talk to, when somebody new comes in and they're really putting in an effort, inevitably somewhere within about, I want to say 4 to 6 months or so, they will always say, man, I was crazy. And they mean it like literally, I was not sane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, because when they finally start working on their thinking, they're like, oh, my thinking was not normal.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like,
Well-
no wonder I was stuck in this for so long.
Remember, Henno, when I told you in therapy, when I had that moment that it finally clicked in my head that I thought I was thinking logically all these years?
Exactly.
And I was just like, wow, actually what I was doing was thinking, you know, my thinking was distorted, you know, and
Yep.
I just completely thought I was still being logical. And, you know, once you get a little bit removed from that and you can look back, like you were saying, and you're like, wow, I was way out of my mind here. Like, this is not...
Yeah.
And that's why I said it's kind of neat for me. If I go back and listen to early episodes of this compared to now, you know, I can see my path, you know, and I can look back and go, wow, you know, and I know I've told you, Henno, a couple of times with people that you and I have known and whatever, where I'm like, that's me 3 years ago, you know, like, and it's like, I know exactly what where they're at because I was just there. And, you know, so it's cool when I can, like you with the guy at, your men's group, is when I'm talking with them and I can say, hey, I did that. This is, you know, try to help along the way there too.
Yeah. And that's like for him, I was trying to be, there's so many, one of my fears when I first tried to get sober was that I was going to get pressured by people. And it was a real big fear of mine. And it can happen. You know, you get, especially in a group setting, you have somebody that just really wants to, you know, they get in your face. And one of the things that I was struggling with, a couple of people that I was mentoring one time. And I talked to this guy. The guy's like just this gigantic 6'5" biker dude. I mean, he just looks scary as hell. I figured he'd have some like great advice about tough love and blah, blah, blah. And he talked about love and compassion and basically taking a giant soft hugging approach to everybody, which I was completely surprised about, you know, and that to not pressure people and that there isn't tough love and that all there really is to really be kind and to be compassionate for people and to let people know that they are loved. And that's what, like, I was trying to talk to this guy. It just, I couldn't help but be reminded of that and just say, hey, you know, and to take a soft approach to it. It's like, you know, stick around for a little while, see if it works for you. Mm-hmm. You know, rather than you have to do this, you have to do that.
Yeah.
You know, it was fun to have that message come back through and to be able to share that with somebody because these are scary things, because one of the things I learned that kept me in my disease is that self-centered fear. Mm-hmm. And that self-centered fear is what prevented me from asking for help. The self-centered fear is what kept me fighting everyone and everything, including myself. And it was that self-centered fear that was telling me, you don't need anything else. You can do this on your own. Mm-hmm. And those were those things that I needed to break out of. And it really, you know, it's the greatest relief when that day finally happens. Mm-hmm. You know, and it's amazing to hear that, you know, as we're talking about this, to hear that this crosses over completely.
Yeah. You know, it's funny, Henno, like one of the things I always wished that I could have heard well before I did was your, you know, like you've already tried all this and look where it got you. You know, try this. You can always have your misery back or your problems back. Because because knowing the kind of person I am, if you had smacked me in the face with that, I probably would have been like, you know, that's a good point. And I probably would have taken action sooner. versus just, like you were just saying, I was very much the, I can fight this, I got this, and I certainly didn't have it.
It's funny, I totally used that line on this kit too, and it was hilarious. I was like,
it's really
give
good.
it a shot. If you're not happy, we'll refund you your misery.
Totally right. Yeah,
but check it out. Maybe you'll be happy with it. And then to also to be able to offer that, like, hey, this is how I can be with my friends. This is how I am. These are the situations. To give that hope, and I think that hope is really important.
It is, yeah.
So, Roxanna, did you do any sort of group work at all, or was it all individual with therapists? Or
yeah, it was all individual. I wanted to say also, just real quick, that a really important component of this is you need to have somebody that supports you completely, to kind of help you recognize that you're doing good. And even though, it's not that it's the approval from the other person, it's just that support that is positive reinforcement.
Knowing you're not alone.
Right.
Yeah.
And that you are changing, and you are making positive changes. And, you're doing good. My grandmother is actually that person for me. And, she tells me all the time how much better she recognizes that I am now that I'm taking care of myself. And, that makes you feel good.
Yeah.
And she checks on me. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily, it's not the same as your friend checking on you or whatever, but it's just positive stuff.
Well,
so.
Because we often don't see the changes in ourselves.
Right.
It's other people that see it in us before we do.
Exactly.
And it's nice to get some feedback in that regard. And I always try to offer it all the time, especially when it comes to something like alcoholism, where literally the first days, usually they look really bad.
Yeah.
It's there's fear in their eyes. They're physically still hurting, and then, after a month, all of a sudden there's some lightness. And I always love to comment on that, because they might not even see it in themselves, and they're still afraid, and they're still, not sure if this is the right thing. They're probably feeling lonely, just like I was at first, and anxious and emotional and all this stuff, because all of a sudden it's oh wow, I have to go out in the world without my tools.
Yeah.
Right.
That my crutches, I guess, is a better way to look at it. And I haven't developed the new tools yet to get through life. And so at least to have somebody say, oh wow, I've noticed a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
It can really help.
I had that at therapy and with my psychiatrist this week, actually, when I was talking with my therapist and I was telling her things were going well or whatever, and she's like, you just seem lighter than normal coming in here. And my psychiatrist said basically the same thing. He's like, I can tell that you feel better. He's like, and we're doing, him and I are talking basically via Skype. He's not even in the room with me.
Yeah.
But he's like, I can just see there's a difference. And you're right. It feels awesome when somebody does that. And, especially when it's something like that, because it does. I have people honestly, Jen earlier in the show did it for me, when she pointed out that, the stuff where I'm like, it's no big deal. And she's like, whoa, it is a big deal, and again, that's why we did the wins for the week, was because I'm the type to just zoom right past those things. and
it's natural. It's completely natural to, we all do that to ourselves. So we kind of, we discount, we talk about positive narcissism on here, we discount ourselves and we're so afraid to be considered narcissistic or full of ourselves or, all of these negative connotations, when actuality, we need to be positively narcissistic. We need to be, positive about ourselves and supporting ourselves, and then having others support us to help lift us up. It makes all the difference in the world. Have that support system built of doctors and family members and friends and coworkers, and build that support system to help cradle you when you start falling, to help catch you when you need them to be there. It's so important for every part of recovery, for everything. I've been very blessed to have an amazing support system myself, and I don't think I would be where I'm at without them. In fact, I know I wouldn't be.
Right, same here.
I just, it makes all the difference. It really does.
One thing real quick was that we talked about how long it sometimes takes, to find recovery, and it's really easy to start regretting, the amount of time that was spent. But that's one of the reasons why I do like to, I don't live my life with the idea that that I'm on a path in front of me, like I have a destiny, but I do like to view my past as, because that way it makes sense to me, where I can accept that. There's a saying that we use all the time, which is like, we don't regret the past, nor do we shut the door on it. And I like that saying because it reminds me that everything happened for a reason to get me where I'm at today. And all that matters is what I can do this day forward.
Yeah.
And that if I really look at it, I go, no, everything happened the way it needed to happen when it was, right and it was ready. And I don't close the door on it because it's a reminder of why I'm doing what I'm doing today. Because it is easy for life to get better and all of a sudden you stop doing the work. And I don't know about anybody else, but for me, there is no finish line. I have to work on this every day. The minute that I get complacent is the minute that I start slipping back.
Yeah. It's the same for me. Even in my PTSD, I can feel myself slipping if I take some time off from.
If you let up on the work a little bit.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I told my therapist this week, actually, because I was telling her how when, I recognized that it was a really big deal when she called me and was like, hey, I have to cancel our appointment. We'll see if we can get you, I'm sure there'll be a cancellation somewhere and we'll be able to get you in. And I wasn't like, oh man, I gotta, I wasn't like freaking out. I was just like, okay. And I told her, I was like, I really was looking at it like, I got this. And I told her, I said, not that I'd stop coming in, because as we've talked on here before and you just mentioned, it's like, that's when it's time to keep practicing, and, keep working on that stuff, because then when things do, or if they do get worse, it's muscle memory. It's not, you're not trying to, pull all those skills out and they're rusty when you absolutely need them,
Right, you already have a plan.
Yeah, exactly.
And a routine.
Yep.
And you can tackle it.
Yep, exactly.
Now, I know you mentioned that you're fairly new on your path to getting well. What's a milestone for you that you're looking for progress? I mean, is there something that you have wanted to do but you haven't been able to do yet that you're looking forward to?
I don't think so. I think every day I tend to feel more positive about the decision that I made to start taking care of myself. I feel better. I do feel better. And I feel like this is working for me.
Yeah.
All that other stuff, that didn't work.
Right.
But this is.
And, exactly.
So, that's just more positive.
That's
self-talk,
awesome.
I guess.
It comes with, it took me a while to kind of get to a point where, because I battle bipolar, and for the longest time, it took me a while to kind of recognize what I wanted. It's like, okay, I'm on my path to recovery, but what does recovery look like to me? And I'll never be 100% recovered because you can't, you know. It'll always be part of me. But like for me, one of my milestones was I wanted to go to a family event, a family reunion, and not have an emotional hangover the next day. not tear myself apart, not, break myself down and analyze everything I said, everything that I did, every movement that I made. I shouldn't have said that, I should have done that type of stuff, and all that negative thought. And when I could get myself to a point where that became more of a second nature, to kind of just be able to go, not dread it, and be able to relax afterwards. That was a big aha moment for me, I guess, more than anything else, that I was like, okay, I see it. I see my work. And I see where I've been able to come and enjoy the people who enjoy me. That was a huge moment for me to kind of get to that point.
Yeah, sure.
I'm dealing with a lot of physical stuff because of my mental stuff. I have body tics, and I get muscle armoring, and I get migraines, and I get nauseous. There's a lot of physical stuff that goes along with my PTSD, and I've been treating that. And I guess one thing that I'm really looking forward to is, going a certain amount of time without those physical things, So,
sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That would be a really awesome day, awesome hour, awesome whatever time frame it takes.
Right.
But you'll get there.
I believe I will. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Well, this has been an awesome conversation. I don't know. What do you guys think? We good? Got more questions?
No, I can't think of anything right now.
That was a great question, by the way, Jen, about the whole milestones thing. I was like, because it's true. Everyone has like this thing in them where they're like, oh, I hope that someday I can do this.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to do future casting, but there is, at least for me, it was looking back at something that I was either embarrassed about or didn't feel good about because of my disease, that I wanted to do again, and then just do it right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I guess is I remember having those as well, like saying, okay, I'm going to go do this again, but I'm going to do it with the right attitude, with the right, bringing in the best energy to it, whereas before I brought in just horrible energy to it,
right?
And kind of right the wrong in a way. Those are like, those were the amends to myself.
Yeah, that's a great way.
It's a great way of looking at it. Yeah,
right. And those were big because I know you guys can relate to this. I beat myself up more than anybody else can.
Yep,
I'm my worst. All of my friends that I went to and I talked about that I was in recovery from alcoholism, they were all excited for me. And when I went through the process of trying to make amends by saying, is there anything that I could do to change things that I've done in the past, they all just said, keep doing what you're doing, keep doing what you're doing, right? But I can't have that conversation with myself because the inner me beats me up and doesn't allow me that. Mm-hmm. So that's why having those like little moments of going and doing something and that I didn't feel good about in the past and now I do feel good about was my amends to myself.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It does. And it's funny, I hadn't thought about that before, but you're right. That almost feels like that should be part of the amends process. Is that maybe not right away, like you may not do it with the other stuff, but at some point you kind of look back and, forgive yourself a little bit, for what you've done. And,
it's the hardest part.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
I mean, it really isn't. And I hate to, it's true that it just doesn't get talked about. Everyone talks about righting all the wrongs that we did to others.
Yeah.
But it doesn't get talked much about righting the wrongs we did to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And as a process of building our self-esteem back up in a positive way, and I tend to, one of the hardest things is like, if somebody does have an amends to make and that other person is no longer around, like, let's say they've died or something like that, well, there has to be a way that you can make amends for yourself because you can't do it for them.
Right.
So you have to do it for yourself. So I think that's always a good way of approaching that. And that's where these ideas of what I'm talking about is a living amends. The way I'm living today is I am making amends. I can never do that wrong for that person because they're not around. However, and to me, it's the same process. If I can do that for somebody that I can't, that cannot see me doing it, then I should be able to do that for myself as well. Mm-hmm. Is how I kind of explain it to people.
No, you're right, because it's like we talk in here a lot about the whole, like when a friend tells you they're going through something and, they're beating themselves up and we're like, wow, go easy on yourself. And then we'll look right in the mirror and just beat the heck out of ourselves, like the same way. And it's like, you just gotta be nicer to yourself too. And that, I think that goes in it because instead of letting guilt chew you up for the rest of your life, you're looking at it in a different way that, you can reframe it positively so that it feels like you're moving towards something instead of just being chased by it,
Absolutely. Yeah. So, well, with that, I think that's a great place to kind of wrap it all on up. If you would like to continue the conversation with us, you know how to reach us. You can reach us at the Crazy Life Podcast.weebly.com is our website. The Crazy Life Podcast at outlook.com is our email address. You can reach me on Twitter at Jen's Crazy Life, Jen with a G. You can also reach us on Facebook. Brian has the full link, I can talk, that he'll tell us about in a little bit. And Roxanna, how can people reach you if they want to talk with you or maybe they want to get your services?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm on Twitter and should I give them my...
That's up to you.
Okay.
Because I'm ready. I'm about to put it in. I got my phone out. Everyone else,
do it.
Come
okay.
with me.
I'm actually a hippie metal chick on Twitter, but my name or whatever is Rainbow Waifu. So you can find me on there, and if you want to reach out to me and talk about PTSD or maybe reach out for some advice or services. Definitely open to that.
Awesome. And you, Heno, how can they reach you?
You can find me on Twitter at Ida Heno and Facebook Heno Hater. You can message me at either location. And I wanted to say thank you so much for joining us, Roxanna, and sharing your experiences with us.
Thank you so much for having me. It was awesome.
All right, you can also find the show on Twitter at The Crazy Life Pod, where I post when new episodes go up. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/group/crazylifepodcast. You can find me on Twitter at Stunami. You can find my other podcast at salty_language or saltylanguage.com. That show is not safe for work, so make sure earbuds in. We're part of the Tangent Bound Network, which can be found at tangentboundnetwork.com. And we would really appreciate it if you use an Apple Podcast, if you would rate, review, and subscribe, if you have not already. Or if you're using Stitcher or Spotify or another app, please use the like or share options to help, maybe help us get some more listeners. Or also if you see our Twitter posts or our Facebook posts, maybe share those with your friends too, please. And next is we're not doctors, therapists, trained professionals of any kind. We're just four people this time, sharing our experiences and opinions. If you feel you need help, please reach out. All of us here know how hard it is to take that first step. It took me 20 some years. It's tough, but please, again, be kind to yourself and, reach out for help. Try to get to it before it gets worse. And if you are feeling as though you may harm yourself or others, please reach out to a friend, ask them to come over, call a suicide prevention hotline number or a crisis number. And there's a bunch of different ones out there, and pretty much just talk to somebody, through your crisis or whatever, whether it's a friend or someone on, texting or on the phone or whatever, just please reach out for help. And if you find yourself planning either of those things too, or writing a suicide note or what have you, that's a huge red flag. Definitely reach out to someone. Don't let it go past that point. Try to get help as soon as you can. And forgot the next part already. Shoot. Dang it. Thought I had a week on. Dang it. Man, I can't think what the next part is. Oh, reach out to somebody.
Doctors and therapists,
no, I already did that part. Yeah. No,
you did that? I missed that? Oh.
Yeah, it's reach out to somebody. Get a hold of somebody you haven't talked to in a long time, or just whoever, and, your friends or family or whatever. Tell them you appreciate them. Tell them you love them. Tell them that, they're part of your support system or whatever. Just call somebody in, just say hi, whatever it is. 'Cause you never know, you'll probably, make their day better, and you never know, you might save somebody's life by doing it.
Absolutely. And with that, folks, keep breathing, wiggle your toes, and look forward to good things in the future. So, talk to you next week.